where we are there, and especially the trees, the students who will be having
Preeti, there is some disturbance in your
their
network.
queries, as well as they can experience his academic endeavors and journey and the experiences what he has attained throughout from the inception, from the college itself until where he has been standing. So we hope that all of us will be enjoying the session, and we'll be having all the enthusiasm. And so I invite and ma'am, I hope I'm is it am I audible, ma'am? Am
Preeti,
I audible now?
there is some network there is some
Ma'am, am
network
I audible?
disturbance.
Yes, audible, madam.
Am I
Yes,
audible, ma'am?
yes,
I'll
yes,
Yes,
just
yes,
change
audible.
my location, ma'am. Yeah, it's okay, ma'am. Is it audible now?
yes. Please
Better,
carry on now.
better.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So on behalf of Alumni Committee, I welcome Dr. Rakesh Bhamri, an alumni of Geography Department and STEAM College, Swami Shraddhanand College. So I welcome, and I also welcome our principal, sir, firstly, to address this session, and welcoming the speaker, Dr. Rakesh Bhamri. Principal, sir, good morning. Please, you're welcome to just speak words on Rakesh.
Thank you, Priya. I welcome our esteemed guest, Rakesh ji, for this informative lecture. My heartiest welcome to our guest, although he was a student earlier for us. But today we are pleased to have an interaction with Rakesh ji, and I wish he will not enlighten our students, but he may give some tips to our teaching community also for the betterment, improvement in teaching, academics, some kind of management in the college, departments, etc. So indeed, it is a pleasure that Rakesh ji is doing research, and after doing graduation from our college, got a very high position abroad. I think he will share his experiences in a broad way, in a broad spectrum, not only in the field of geography or geology, but overall academics. He will enlighten our students to move further, how to make studies, how to indulge in research, how to indulge in teaching profession, and beside this, how to become a noble person also. Dr. Rakesh ji has done a great thing for the college, and college is proud. Not only the department, only the entire college is proud of him, and he may show a path, enlighten the path for the upcoming students who are studying here, and all his juniors, I mean to say, not only students who are studying here, but other students also who are junior to him. So I wish he will enlighten our students not only in job opportunities, career opportunities in India only, abroad also. Or I should take it reverse wise, not only abroad, but in India also, at their workplace, in their villages, because geography is supposed to be a cosmopolitan subject. Each and every part of this universe related to geography. And just like sciences, I am a person of science, and Archana madam again. So where there is no life, it becomes difficult to do some work for the scientists over there, Antarctica or very at places where there is high temperature. But geography is the field. Each and every corner of this universe can be explored with the knowledge of geography. And and again, I am not a person of geography, and Department of Geography, Rakesh ji, together will throw more light in today's seminar, and I wish it will be a landmark for our students to make their careers not only in India, abroad also. With these words, I wish to hand over again to Dr. Preeti, Dr. Archana, and thank you, madam. Thank you, Rakesh ji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Really, it is heart welcoming with your warm words, and I think surely we will be enjoying the session and having the greater insight towards not only geography but of course the interaction and interdisciplinary sciences through Rakesh presentations. And now I welcome Dr. Archana ma'am, convener of Alumni Committee. I welcome
Thank you
Archana
so
ma'am.
much, Preeti. Yeah, got it. Thank you so much. And I would like to say that I'm really delighted that our virtual webinar series of motivation from our passed out students is going on very well. There are lots of attendees and there are so many alumni who are more than interested to pave the way of the current generations. And so today's torchbearer happens to be Dr. Rakesh Bhamri. And really, I'm very proud and delighted and thrilled to receive him here on behalf of my entire college, his entire college. And it is very heartwarming to see the bond, the connect. You can say the umbilical cord connect, I would say, because only if a student is grateful to his or her roots, will agree to spend time on a weekend when he could have rested, but he chose to be here to pave the way, to lighten the path of his juniors. And I would also like to tell our esteemed guest, Dr. Rakesh Bhamri, that not only geography students, but all so many students from various fields are here. I would take this opportunity to put on record my sincere thanks and regards to our principal, Professor Garg sir, Praveen Garg sir, who is very energetic, dynamic, young principal who believes in goodness, encourages all of us to do good things, and supports us in all possible ways. And also our non-teaching staff headed by Professor Bhardwaj ji. Dr. Dharamveer Bhardwaj ji, who is always there day and night for us. So I heartily welcome you again, Dr. Rakesh Bhamri, and I would urge you to share your accomplishments coupled with the hurdles you faced, because these students are following your path and they are having to face the insulation and the physical classes because of the corona menace. So please encourage them and infuse enthusiasm, optimism, hope, and methods of progressing in life, because we are a family and together we rock. So very, very happy and sending blessings to Dr. Rakesh and to everybody else in this meeting. I'm particularly thankful to Dr. Preeti Malik, who remembered you and spotted you, communicated with you, made all the arrangements, and to Dr. Akanksha, who has hosted the meeting, and it's going live on Facebook as well, so that how many other participants we have, we can accommodate, and everybody can benefit, and it's being recorded. It will be available on our alumni YouTube channel soon. Thank you, all the best, and over to Dr. Preeti.
Thank you, Archana ma'am. Thank you. Always your words are encouraging, and definitely all students will be enlightened. And I always look upon you where, am I audible? Am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
ma'am.
Archana ma'am. So really, your words are always encouraging and motivating for all of us, not only students, but we all being beginners and learners also are learning looking upon you, and thanks again. So before welcoming Dr. Rakesh, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our speaker, our student, Dr. Rakesh Bhamari. Of course, I think I remember from the year 1998 and 2001. This is where he has joined our college, and he was passed out of 2001. This is the inception time period when I think our geography department was started in our college. Faculty to join and start the college. Touching that, I think he has his doctoral research vast since 2006 and 2008 time period, where he has worked as GIS expert in Delhi, UP, and as well as Haryana. And his research expeditions, which is very commendable for our geographers especially, because we always look upon tracking and looking, researches over the vast nature and the avenues where it is there. So he has a lot of Dockreni glaciers, then Chorabari glaciers, then Gangotri glaciers, then Garhwal Himalayas, Laul Spiti, Himachal Pradesh, Saichen, and many other glaciers in Eastern Karakoram. He has his lot of research expeditions. And just to shorten, he's got a lot of editorships, reviews, and projects, where I think one of the main project where Rakesh has given his commendable research is through damage assessment mapping of Bhagirathi River Valley, with special reference to an extreme rainfall event of June 2013 with the funding agency from Ministry of Science and Technology. And his professional training, of course, being a researcher, as I've already mentioned, he has been an expeditor. So he has a lot of training work. There are National Training Society, Himalayan Geology Society, American Geophysical Union. And talking about his publications, I think it's a long list. I simply have to mention that he has his peer-reviewed journals as approved by UGC, has 27 of his publications on, again, a lot of work, research work, speaking on the glaciers and the Ganga Basin, hydrometeorological assessments. And talking less, last but not the least, he has his credit to one of his book, along with Mehta M, Dobal DP, and Gupta AK in 2015 on Glacier Lake Inventory of Uttarakhand, which is a special publication of Himalayan geology. Lastly, his lot of credits is again through chapters he has devoted to various books. Again, not to name, he has again lot list, and lot of contribution is taken through his technical reports, his journals, a lot of articles in a lot of journals. Therefore, I just end up my listing of the experiences what Rakesh holds. So I simply invite now to give an insight through his journey from Swami Shraddhanand College and doing his research from the college, and then doing his masters from Kurukshetra University, and then how he ended up with Wardia Geological Institute, and now today where he is in Germany as a research associate. So I wholeheartedly invite Dr. Rakesh on behalf of Alumni Committee, along with Archana ma'am, our principal sir, Dr. Praveen Garg, to please hold the session. I invite you, Rakesh. Please go on.
Very good morning to all from Heidelberg University, Germany. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to deliver a alumni talk. It is a great honor for me to tell about myself, my education, my career, and my research work and how time has been changed in last 20 years after my graduation from Swami Shraddhanand College, and how my college teachers helped me to establish as an independent researcher. So I will cover all these topics in brief in my talk. So I'm going to present my talk on transformation from geographer to glaciologist. Just a minute. Yeah. So this is my education. I completed my BA Honours Geography from Swami Shraddhanand College, University of Delhi in 2001, and then MSc in Geography from Kurukshetra University in 2003. And in 2005, I completed a certificate course on geoinformatics in geosciences from Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, Dehradun, along with my graduation teacher, Dr. Anand Malik sir. And in this course, I completed a dissertation on a glacial mapping of Chorabari Glacier using remote sensing techniques. And in 2012, I completed a PhD on Garhwal Himalayan glacier changes using remote sensing and GIS from Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology and Chaudhry Charan Singh University. So this is my work experience. I began my career as a lecturer in Department of Geography, Guru Nanak Khalsa College, Karnal, and I served there for about 2 years from 2003 to 2005. And in May 2009, I joined as a research associate in Central Soil Salinity Research Institute, Karnal. I worked there for a World Bank funding project, and I work on a soil salinity mapping using a remote sensing images. In August 2010, I joined as a research associate in a Center for Glaciology, Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology. This is an autonomous body of Ministry of Science and Technology. And in the same department in March 2012, I joined as a scientist B, and I served there for about 8 years. And on 1st November, I moved to Department of Geography, South Asia Institute, Heidelberg University as a research associate. And still I am working here. So this is my work experience. These are my college teachers, Dr. Daljit Singh sir. He taught us a cartographic method first part in first year, and cartographic method part second in second year, and in final year we learned statistical method in geography from him. And Dr. Jagbir Singh sir taught us geomorphology and climatology, where presently I am working on these subjects. And Dr. Subhashanand sir taught us geography of resources in second year, and development geography in final year. Dr. Anand Malik sir taught us landform geography and oceanography in second year, and we also completed our final year dissertation on environmental problems in Goa under his supervision. Dr. Jitendra Saroha sir taught us population geography in first year, and in a second year he moved to Bhimrao Ambedkar College in University of Delhi as a regular faculty. So all my teachers helped me to establish as an independent researcher, and I learned geography and its fundamental from them. So basically, what is a geography? Geography is what geographers do. And what geographers do? Geographers mainly study the space content and space relationship. Geography is an interdisciplinary science, and we mainly divide in two branches, physical geography and human geography. There are a number of branches of human geography, like population geography, cultural geography, economic geography, and agriculture geography. They're a long list. But my mainly interest in physical geography, on geomorphology and climatology. And after then I work on mainly on glaciers. So from last 15 years, I am working on Himalayan glaciers and associated hazards. We all are aware that Himalaya has one of the largest concentration of glaciers outside the polar region. And these glaciers are very, very important for us. Water discharge from these glaciers can be used for hydropower generation, irrigation, and other domestic purposes. Sometimes these glaciers also generate a hazardous situation for the downstream areas. For example, we have seen in June 2013 a massive flood has been occurred in the Kedarnath Valley due to the Moraine Dam Lake outburst flood. So we are mainly using remote sensing, satellite images, GIS techniques, and field instrumentation to monitor these glaciers to understand how these glaciers are behaving in the current climatic warming. We are mainly using a stream drill and a total station, a DGPS, and time series of satellite images. We have also established some automatic weather station in our field. So to understand the impact of climate change on these glaciers. This is my some research achievement. I have published about 30 papers, 26 are listed, and my cumulative impact factor is around 75, and Scopus citations is 1600. In 2019, I have been selected as a scientific editor for the Journal of Glaciology, and its impact factor is 3.2, and published by the International Glaciological Society, which was founded in 1936. So I have published some paper as a leading author in a very reputed journal like a Global and Planetary Change, Nature Scientific Reports, Natural Hazards, the Cryosphere, Journal of Glaciology, Progress in Physical Geography. So this slide is showing a near surface temperature lapse-rate estimation using a automatic weather station dataset. When we go up in a troposphere, air temperature decrease with the altitude, and the rate of change in this air temperature is known as a lapse rate. Generally, we consider a normal lapse rate 6.5 degrees centigrade per kilometer, but we are very less know about the seasonal variation in the Himalayan high altitude Himalayan terrain. So to fill this gap, we established a 3 automatic weather station in 2011 in the Tokrani Glacier catchment in the upper Bhagirathi Valley. We established a first automatic weather station at the height of 2500 meter at Tela camp. And second, we established at the height of 3800 meter at base camp near the glacier snout. And third, we established at the 4400 meter uh, at the right lateral moraine of Tokrani Glacier. So our results suggest that there are a lot of seasonal variation, and this information is very important for the glacier and hydrological modeling. And lapse rate can vary from 4.6 degrees centigrade per kilometer to 7.5 degrees centigrade per kilometer. So I learned all these fundamentals of climatology from Dr. Dr. Jagbir Singh sir. And this basic information really helped me to carry out a practical in a Himalayan terrain. So thank you very much, Jagbir sir, giving me this teaching. Your teaching really helped me. And we published this paper in a theoretical and applied climatology in 2019. I published my first research paper on a glacial mapping, a review with special reference to Indian Himalayas in a Progress in Physical Geography. This paper mainly deals with the progress of glacial mapping and glacial fluctuations since the mid-19th century, with special reference to the Indian Himalayas. I remember Dr. Daljit Singh sir taught us what is a map, what is a projection, and what is a cartography. And this information really helped me to write such kind of a review paper. And I also, I didn't have access of old literature which published in a proceeding of Royal Geographical Society and Geographical Journal. So I got these references from the Ratan Tata Library, and I met several times Dr. Subhash Anand sir there, and he really guided me for my research work. We also established some water discharge site near the glaciers. We can see here this is a Dokriani glacier gauging site where we collect water discharge data, and we can see we maintain these retaining walls every year to find a good and correct measurement of water discharge. Here we can see my one colleague is downloading the data from the automatic water level recorder, and this is a Dunagiri gauging site. But there are some challenges in water to collect water discharge measurement. Uh, Here you can see a retaining wall which we maintain every year, but in a this figure in a Dokriani glacier, we can see after the flood, lot
मैंने वो न्यूज
the
डाली
whole
कि लोग देखो क्या बोल रहे हैं क्या जैसे इन्होंने
the
लिखा
whole
thallium
discharge site has
man poisoned
destroyed.
involved with thallium, 2 dead. Thallium has no color, odor, or taste. It acts slowly and causes wide-ranging symptoms, which come in the way of diagnosis of poison. ये लिखा है Times of India में. नीचे देखो लोगों ने क्या लिखा है. Media should.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah, Akanksha. Akanksha.
I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so please put your mic off. Yeah, thank you, Akanksha.
Really sorry, ma'am. Really sorry.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Shall I start?
Yeah, Rakesh, please carry on. Yeah,
Thank
please
you.
carry on.
We also generated a glacial lake inventory of Uttarakhand using a high resolution resource set LIS4 images. Its resolution is 5.8 meter, and we mapped 1266 lakes in different lake categories like end moraine, lateral moraine, and recessional moraine, dam lake. And Dr. Anand Malik sir taught us these terminology in second year in the subject of landform geography. So this really helped me to do such kind of work in my professional life. We also mapped a glacial lake inventory of Himachal Pradesh. And we mapped 958 lakes in different categories. This is a Bias Basin glacial lake map, and we can see so many lakes in this basin. So this data set further can be used for glacier lake area change studies and glacier lake outburst flood modeling studies. This map is showing glacier changes in the Garhwal Himalayas from 1968 to 2006, and we mapped 1968 glacier outline using Corona spy images, which is showing through by this red color outline, and this blue color outline is showing 2006, which we mapped through Aster images. So about 6% glacier area lost in last 40 years from 1968 to 2006. We published this paper in a Journal of Glaciology. This is one of the closer view of the Tara Bhamak. Bhamak means a glacier in the upper Alaknanda basin near the Mana Pass. And this is the 1968 situation from spy image Corona. And this is a Aster 2006. So about 10, we can see if we compare, so 10% glacier area has lost by this glacier in last 40 years. So presently what is happening in the central and eastern Himalaya, glaciers are receding and its frontal proglacial lake area is increasing. We also completed one study in Sikkim Himalaya, glaciers and lake changes in the Sikkim Himalaya using a Landsat time series satellite images from 1991 to 2015. In our upper panel, we can see here in 1991, the proglacial lake area is very less, but due course of time in 2015, the almost glacial lake area has increased by 2 times, and frontal area of glacier is receding. In a lower panel, we can see here these are some supraglacial lake in 1991. Only 6 lakes is there, but its area is increasing in 2000 and 2015. These all lakes are combined and together and created a proglacier and moraine dam lake. Uh, so our results suggest 23 glacier lost about 5% area in last 25 years, and lake area increased by 48%. These are some field photographs of Dokriani Glacier, which is showing changes in depth discovered ice and surface morphology. These white color is showing a clean ice, and this is a depth discovered ice. If we compare sub-figure A and B, so lot of thinning has been happened at the lower ablation zone of glacier. Uh, if we compare this C and D, so about 600-meter retreat has occurred at the frontal part of this Tokriani Glacier. So Wardia Institute of Himalayan Geology monitoring this glacier since 1991 using a field instrument data set. In July 2017, a massive debris flow occurred at the front of Gangotri Glacier by its former tributary Meru Bamak, and we investigated this event using a high-resolution pre- and post-satellite images, digital elevation model, and hydrometeorological data set. And we can see here, this is a pre-event May 2017 pro-glacier area field photograph of Gangotri Glacier, and this is showing a snout which is also known as a Gomukh, and this is a Bhagirathi river. In a post-event, we can see Bhagirathi river has changed its course about 150 meter, and a lot of sediment has deposited during this debris flow. My colleague also collected a suspended sediment concentration in the Bhagirathi river water, and we observed about 6 times increase in the suspended sediment concentration in the Bhagirathi river water during this event. This is the frontal retreat of Gangotri Glacier. This event is closely a debris flow event closely associated with the frontal retreat of Gangotri Glacier. We can see this blue color outline is showing a 1965 situation, and white color outline is showing a 2017 situation. So about 1 kilometer retreat has occurred at the frontal part of Gangotri Glacier, and due to the recession, these lateral moraines become unstable, and before the 2012, the meltwater is of Meru Bamak is draining from this left stream, but in a 2012, a small rill and gully about 10 meter wide is generated at the left lateral moraine of Gangotri Glacier, and due course of time, this rill and gully converted in a stream, and in July 2017, a massive debris flow occurred along in this stream and generated a huge debris deposit a huge debris at the front of Gangotri Glacier. So presently, Himalayan glacier are receding, so such kind of event can increase in a coming days. So we also computed how much debris or sediment has deposited during this event using a DM differencing technique. For this case, we used a high Mountain Asia digital elevation model 2014, and we also generated a Cartosat 1 DM using a stereo Cartosat images using a Leica photogrammetry suite, and we subtracted Cartosat 1 DM to high Mountain Asia DM, and we can see the result here. This blue color is showing our deposit sediment area, and this red color is showing a eroded sediment area. We published this paper in a Geomorphology journal. So these are some field photograph of after this event. We can see this D subfigure uh, due to this sedimentation at the front of Gangotri Glacier. A small pro-glacial lake was established and still there. We also publish a inventory for the such type glacier using a multiple satellite images and digital elevation models and archival information. Such type glacier is different from any normal glacier like a Gangotri, Tokriani or Chorabari. Such type glacier must have at least two phases, active and quiescent phase. In active phase, a large amount of ice moved from its upper reservoir zone to lower receiving zone, and and in a quiescent phase, a lower part of the glacier become a retreat or a stable, and in a quiescent phase, upper part of the glacier accumulates snow and ice for the next surge. So what is a reservoir zone and receiving zone? I will show in my coming slide. So this is an example of a Komodan group of glacier in the eastern Karakoram region, and this is a Chong Kamdun glacier. This is Kechik Kamdun and Aktash. All three glaciers are very famous because they have blocked the flow of Shock River in the past and generated a hazardous situation for the downstream areas. So we can see here this is a reservoir zone of Kichik Kamdun and receiving zone. This is a Landsat thematic mapper 1989 image, and we can see how these glaciers are behaving in a time series of Landsat images. So this is 1989. Now we can see in 1998. Yeah, so we can see this Kichik Kamdun glacier is receding, but in 2002 this glacier has advanced. This is not a advancement, this is a surging because the huge amount of ice moved from its reservoir zone to lower receiving zone. Fortunately, this time there is no blockage. This glacier now just touched the Shock River. And in 2009, this Chong Kamdun glacier is surged. We can see and terminated before the about 50-meter uh, the Shock River. And Aktash has touched the Shock River in 2009. In 2011, Aktash has crossed the Shock River, and this river cut it from its bottom and nicely flowing. So in 2011, there was no blockage, but in a past, these glaciers have blocked the flow of Shock River. I will show some archival photographs. We also quantify how much ice mass moved from its upper reservoir zone to lower receiving zone. For this case, we compared a Cartosat digital elevation model with the SRTM-DM, and we can see this blue color is showing a ice mass gain, and red color is showing a ice mass loss. And this is a graphical method which is very clear. If we compare our 2001 situation with 2007, a huge mass loss in the upper reservoir zone and in a lower receiving zone mass gain. About ice reached its height about 160 meter. So huge ice slab moved from its upper reservoir zone to lower receiving zone. We published this paper in a Global and Planetary Change in 2019. This slide is showing a surface displacement or a surface velocity of 9 glaciers of Karakoram, which we generated using a time series of Landsat images and open source CIS software. So all glacier is showing a heterogeneity in their flow movement. We can see this North Goshenbrunn glacier speed is maximum speed is 400 meter, and whereas Stagger has a about 3500 meter a year. So there are a lot of heterogeneity. Every glacier is showing a different signature. One glacier is advancing, second is a retreating, third is a stable, and fourth is a surging. So we do not know what is happening with the Karakoram glaciers because we do not have a field-based database. We just know what is happening there. This is the closer view of the Yazgil Glacier. In last 30 years, this glacier has surged about 6 times. In 1990, we can see 1998, 2006, 2011, and recently in 2018-19, this glacier has surged, but we have not updated yet. This is the 90 years old field photograph of ice dam of Chongkamdun Glacier in 1929 before the glacial lake outburst flood, and we can see this ice dam has blocked the Shok River. That's why here is a dry riverbed and all the water has accumulated behind this ice dam and generated a lake which is known as a Gapshan Lake. This is a Gapshan Lake in 1932. So this was its length is around 18 miles that time, and this is 1939 figure. We can see and compare with the 1932 situation. A lot of thinning has happened at the frontal part of Chongkamdun Glacier. So this that time this glacier in a quiescent phase and river is flowing somewhere here. We compared the because surging is the cyclic process. So this glacier surged in 1929 and again in 2006 to 2010. So we compare with the the outline of frontal part. We can see this pink color outline is showing a 1929 situation, and this yellow color is showing a 2017. So surge is there, frequency is there, but magnitude of ice is reduced. We do not have a climate data for these reasons, but this gives us some hint that these surging glaciers are also losing mass. That's why in a current surge, this glacier could not reach at the Shok River. It could not block the Shok River. This slide is showing a spatio-temporal distribution of glacial lake outburst flood in the Karakoram from 1800 to 2016-17, I think. And we can see in a upper Shok River, there is a no flood by these Kumudun group of glacier. This is a very good news, but in a Kurdupin and Kaigar glacier, uh, Kaigar glacier located in China and Kurdupin in Pakistan. So these glaciers are generating right now some floods in a recent time. So these are some my awards or some merit certificate from Swami Shardanand College, and this is from Kurukshetra University for securing a first position in MSc Final Geography. So this slide for the young generation, young geographers. So what is a scope and future opportunities for physical geographers? So there are number of remote sensing uh, data is available in open access. So young students can download these data set from USGS site or a Copernicus site. From Copernicus, you can download Sentinel-1 and 2 satellite images. So Sentinel-2 is an optical satellite, and its resolution is optical data resolution is 10 meters. So almost it's give a better result as compared to the Landsat images, and its spatial resolution is 10 meter and temporal resolution is about 5 days. So, and there are some GIS open source softwares like ILVIS and Quantum GIS. So during my graduation, we do not have such kind of facility, but now time has changed. So I would suggest to my junior colleagues or be honor students, they can uh, take this opportunity and download these images, and they can do some dissertation work using these images and GIS softwares. And they can also learn programming skills like Python, C++, and R software to handle a large data set. They can also learn Google Earth Engine. So many videos you can get from the YouTube, and tutorials you can get from the Google web page. And there are some scope in a hazard and risk assessment studies. So for like a landslide or a glacial lake outburst floods, so you can work on it, and you can also analyze and give some solution for the surrounding environmental problems, like waste, how and where we can generate our waste disposal site. We can see using a GIS technology, so using overlay operations, so we can see there is a waste disposal site near the Delhi bypass or a Bhalaswa. So, but is their location is correct? But in a past it was correct, but now it is giving some environmental degradation there. So you can think on it, or like groundwater depletion. So you can work for your graduation thesis on it, and after then you can get, if you work for a in a physical geography, so there are some opportunities in our teaching and research to take your own funding, your own projects. You can also work as a consultant or a NGOs. So these are my words for young generation. So these are some funny moments of our Goa field trip. We did this fieldwork with Dr. Anand Malik sir, and Dr. Anand Pal, he's lab attendant there when I did my graduation, and this is Rakesh, and he's my friend Raju Kumar Sharma. Presently, he's working in a Reliance, and still we are in touch. And he's Dr. Anand Malik sir. This is Rakesh Bhamri. This is Rakesh Bhamri, Amit Kumar Singh, Raju Kumar Sharma during our Goa fieldwork. So thank you very much, and this for giving me this opportunity. And these are our batchmate during my graduation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you for really giving a bright insight for your research. First of all, the way you have worked throughout the research, especially the glaciers, really an intensive and exhaustive work. I must say the research you have undertaken with all the risk which you must have taken being into the field, and using the GIS as a major tool, which I think in today's time is the requirement for mapping and graphics, where our coming generation as well as the students in today's time also, they will be looking forward for the remote sensing. I really wholeheartedly I thank you for this session, that you have talked about your journey as a researcher, then as a student, then of course your field trips. And I think now I would like to invite all the students, if any queries you have, any question, any interaction, you want to
Priti, I would like to say something.
just one by one, you can just if you have any queries.
Priti, I would like
Any
to ask
student?
something. Priti, can
Yes,
you hear
ma'am,
me?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Dr.
Yes, ma'am.
Rakesh, it
Please
was,
welcome.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am. Please go ahead. Please go ahead,
I'm
ma'am.
saying. Okay. Rakesh, it was a very enlightening talk and very scintillating and with lots of good pictures, and all the hard work of yours was really showing. What I want from you now is that um, what is your message for the current students? And you are now addressing not only to geography but to the multidisciplinary students. So, what would you like your what would you say to them, like in general, what are they going to encounter, what are the certain virtues and qualities that the students should have for making a great future like yours, Rakesh?
I would say, ma'am, they must work hard and do what they want to do. They just think about their future goal. They set their future goal and work hard. And one student earlier said, "What is the opportunity in Germany?" So I would say there are some opportunity like a DED fellowship, so they can apply for a PhD program using a DED fellowship.
Yeah.
And there is one more fellowship, Humboldt,
Humboldt.
Alexander von Humboldt fellowship.
Correct.
So after PhD, they can apply for a postdoc positions. So, and there are some blogs where uh, they can get some opportunities in some independent project associate or research opportunities like a PhD or a MSc program. So they can do like this.
Thank you. Thank you. Now the students can ask, whoever wants to ask can unmute and ask. Proceed. It was very nice. And all the comments you can see in the chat box, Dr. Rakesh, everybody is praising. And
Yeah.
so they
There
liked
is
your
one question.
slides. And they also liked your gratitude to your teachers, that
Yeah.
you are giving the recognition that they played an important role in
Yes.
laying the foundation stone for your future and career.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So
They
that
really helped me, ma'am. They really helped me. They
actually
really
they
helped
are
me.
good. Definitely they are good, but it's your goodness also who is acknowledging it so many times.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So over to the students, whoever wants to ask. Preeti, please mute yourself. Preeti,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
please
Yeah.
mute yourself.
Any student? Yeah, I've already, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, any student from any discipline, if you have any query regarding pursuing of the research, geographers, non-geographers, they can always ask. As already Archana ma'am has put a question forth, but in terms of which way you can proceed with your research, your fellowships after the masters, going for doctoral, and after that you also can apply for your fellowships and the scholarships. Any student, any other query, you can please unmute yourself and you can ask. Any student?
There is a question from Ritukesh. Can you read,
Yes,
Dr.
ma'am.
Rakesh?
Yes. There's a question from Ritukesh. He's from a second year student.
Okay.
Difference between a research associate and a general professor.
Okay. Here there is a some different system in Germany. Uh, in Germany, there is a one professor in a only one professor in a department, not like a assistant professor or a associate professor. So this hierarchy is not uh, here. But in India or a Britain or a USA, you will find there is a hierarchy for like assistant, associate, and then professor. But here is a if you want to go for a professorship, then you have to do a first PhD, and after then you have to complete a one habilitation thesis. So presently, I am working on my habilitation thesis for a professorship. So before, there is a research associate position here. So it's equivalent to you can say lecturer or assistant professor, but terminology is some different. Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, yeah. We could hear everything. There are more questions. Can you see the chat box, Rakesh?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Can you see, or should we spell out the question for you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
I'll do the needful, ma'am. Yes, Rakesh, there's one question from Riyanshu. What does an ideal research paper must contain? Because I think this is very important question coming in terms of research. What does an
Uh,
ideal research paper must contain?
yeah. Uh, there are three type of mainly there are three type of research papers. First is a review paper. In a review paper, you have to identify some problems like I did in 2009 in my PhD. Uh, I worked on a glacial mapping and how the progress of this glacier map occur in historical time, in present time. So I compare. So you have to first generate some research objective for a review paper. And second type of paper is any algorithm. If you want to develop some algorithm in a computer science or like in my research, I generated one algorithm for the debris covered glacial mapping using remote sensing data set. So such kind of work you can do. And third type of paper is a data analysis using remote sensing data set or like automatic weather station data set, whatever data you have for 3 years to 30 years data set. So for any ideal research paper, you must first you have uh, to make some research questions, and then you have to collect some data set and you have to also go through some literature to find out a widely accepted methodology, or you are going to develop some methodology. So these things you have to keep in your mind, and then you can publish a good research paper. And always try to publish in a high rank journals. uh, they must have some impact factors, so it will help you to establish you as an independent researcher, and you can get your own funding based on your publications, uh, and any position like research associate, assistant professor, or like this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rakesh. Yeah, then another question is, please share some current topics on which we can do our research work in India. I mean, whole lot
Yes,
of environmental problems, I suppose. Yes, students are
yes,
there talking about
uh,
the
yes,
research work in India.
yes. So you can work on a groundwater depletion. This is a very big problem in Haryana and Punjab and NCR region. There are
Yes.
some more. You can work on. You can get data from some groundwater hydrology from some state departments or some national departments. You can also work on pollution, environmental pollution, uh, and waste disposal site management. So there are a lot of problems. So you have to just think on it, and I think these are some topics which I have covered, which are coming in my mind
Yes, I think you have
presently.
already, yeah, I think in one of your slide you have already talked about the areas of research, talking about remote sensing and the hazard and risk assessment
Yeah,
studies,
yes, yes,
all
yes.
the analysis over the environmental problems. I think that was the slide which has covered almost a whole lot
Yes,
of research areas where students can really work upon. Any other
yes.
student, any other query you have so that we can proceed further? Any student? Sir, Rakesh, there's another question. What are the factors that makes a research more effective, according to you or your experience? What are the factors that makes a research more effective?
Okay. More effective. It means I think you want to say how effective. So I think this must
How
be
effective? Yes,
cover a
research.
uh,
I
so
think it's almost the same talking about research
yes,
questions and
yes,
the
maybe,
methodology
and
part and how.
yes, maybe, ma'am. And you must try to. I would like to add one thing. You must try to publish in a widely circulated journals. For example, current science is the widely circulated journal. Means every college, library has this journal. Every school has this journal. So everyone will read your research work, but its impact factor is less than one. Impact factor does not matter in this case because your research will see by lot of people, lot of students, lot of teachers, school teachers, college teachers. So try to publish in a current science as well.
Yeah, that is really, I mean, I think not only for students, but I think for all us as teachers, if we are also to pursue our research and we all are into some or the other researches, we should now be looking upon, all those journals where really the impact factor is there. I think this is very important point which you have highlighted, because nowadays everybody is working for, promotions and all the articles, publications, and looking over for the journals. Really, thank you, Rakesh. I think
Thank you very much.
I think I can just take one more question where this is important, where we talk about any research programs or internships for students pursuing their bachelor's.
Yes,
Is there
yes,
any research programs or internships for
yes,
students
yes.
pursuing their bachelor's?
Yes, there is, there is. For example, in Wadia Institute, where I worked for about more than 10 years, so they organize every year in twice for a summer training or a summer internship or a winter training program, and also for a MSc and Bachelor BTech thesis. So if you are from a geography background, so you can apply there for this, and if you are from other scientific background, so you can apply for same in a CSIR lab. From these are some DST labs, so you can every institute now giving this opportunity to uh, young generation for their bright future. So you can apply for this bachelor thesis or this training program in any reputed national institute. Hello.
Yeah, can I ask a question, Dr. Rakesh?
Yes, sir, please.
I'm a faculty in microbiology department of the same college.
Sure, sure, sir.
A very good talk, Rakesh. Congratulations. And
Thank you, sir.
congratulations for working now in Heidelberg University. You know, this is the oldest university in Germany.
Yes, sir.
And it has a very good research profile. I mean,
Yes, sir.
a lot of good research is being done. I'm just curious to know, Rakesh, since you have a very vast experience in glacier mapping using remote sense data sets, I'm just interested what happened in India, in Uttarakhand in February. There was a
Yes.
glacial lake outburst, I believe, in the Nanda Devi Glacier. So the water that was trapped behind the ice
Yeah.
came and destroyed all those dams and other
Yes.
things. So how can we avert these calamities? Because there was a lot of
ठीक है.
damage caused, and by your work, I believe your work will be very helpful in those kinds of things. So how can we predict these hazards and avert these hazards from happening? So can you give some light on that?
Sure, sir. Sir, on 7th February, this event occurred in the Nanda Devi region, and this was not a glacial lake outburst flood. This is a glacier avalanche. Means glacier, a hanging glacier detached from its rock surface. In a This was a hanging glacier which detached from the escarpment, and after then it's hit the valley bottom and converted in a debris flow and generated a very hazardous situation for downstream areas, and so many people have died, more than around 200. So, and this event, it is very difficult for a scientific community to predict such kind of events because we have a lot of glaciers, more than 10,000 glaciers within our Indian Himalaya. So we need such kind of infrastructure, high resolution images, digital elevation models to identify such kind of event. Uh, and
But can I,
if we,
but can I, can I just interrupt? You
yeah,
said
sure.
you said
Hanging glacier.
it was a hanging glacier. So we were not
Yes.
aware of this, because you must
Uh,
have come
sir,
across this, that it is a hanging glacier and it was a time bomb ticking. So I mean, what was the solution
sir,
in such
sir,
cases?
yeah, sure. Sir, when it will come down, we do not know because we do not have every glacier data set. So 10,000 glaciers so we need if there is but when we analyze the time series images, so there was some crack which developed, I think, from last 2 years. It was crack developing, and in on 7th February, this glacier detached. So as an individual, it is very difficult for me to monitor all the glaciers, but some institutional help is needed to make some database for such events. And you said, can we predict if we know such kind of event is going to happen? Then we can install uh, some early warning system in the field. So at least some minutes before, people in a valley, they know about such kind of event is happening, so they can move from the lower valley uh, areas, so they can go in a upper side of valley. So such kind of thing can be done, but I will say one more thing, sir. In a number of agencies in India, they are working on Himalayan glaciers. Uh, so many ministries there, so many projects there, but we need a one nodal agency which can monitor such kind of event and help help the people.
Yeah,
we
that
are
is what.
lacking in a
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are lacking in a nodal agency, and I would like to share one two thing. I worked in a center for glaciology uh, in a from last 8 years, and suddenly in June 30th June 2020, Department of Science and Technology closed this institute. So you can just imagine what is happening. So
Yeah,
this is a policy issue, so I cannot comment on it, but
no,
this is
yeah.
really,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was the purpose of asking this question, Rakesh, because you are at the hem of the affairs.
yeah,
And from your studies, you can at least give some recommendations to the government so that such policies can be implemented. And as you said rightly, a nodal factor has to come, and at the institutional level, not at a personal level, but
yes,
at
sir.
an institutional level. So maybe your studies can sensitize our policy makers over this direction, because a lot of damage was caused. Two dams were destroyed and so many people were destroyed, their homes were destroyed. So I think we are in a risky area as far as the many of the portions of Indian Himalayans are concerned. There are a lot of similar things, and what happens in another country can also affect other country, like in Nepal, in China. What is
Yes,
going to
sir.
happen may affect our downstream also. So yes, I think
Yes.
you should try to write a
Thank
paper
you.
on this and tell the
Yes.
policymakers that we should work on these
Uh,
kinds of things. Yeah, thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Srivastava sir. Any other query? If can we, sir, proceed further and we can just end the session? Any other faculty member or student? is invited to ask the question. Okay, I think I'll just now take time to formally give my vote of thanks.
Excuse me, Preeti ma'am.
I first, Riyanshu.
I'm sorry for
Yes,
interrupting,
Riyanshu.
ma'am, but my question was there.
Okay, okay, you ask, beta, because I
Okay,
think
ma'am, sure,
this
sure.
is really a tricky question, but
ज्योग्राफी पढ़ने से आईएएस बनेंगे एंड
I think I could have answered
टेक्निकलिटी
you
के
later, but
लिए
yes, now you're there on board. So, geography पढ़ने से IAS बनोगे. PCM is compulsory. So actually, sir, Rakesh, actually the point, what the reason behind this question, I can just come up because our geography honors is basically a BA degree. So
Okay.
we don't have MSc, right?
Okay,
Delhi
ठीक
University
है.
does not give
Yeah.
honors degree. मतलब हम लोगों का masters is not MSc. So
Sure.
it's very evident. Because you have undertaken, I think, from Kurukshetra, where Kurukshetra
Yes.
University gives an MSc degree.
MSc degree,
So
yes.
therefore, I think yes,
Yes.
the chances, the avenues are open. More
Open,
avenues
yes,
are
yes.
open that
That's,
way.
yeah, that's why
But nowadays,
yeah.
please carry on, Rakesh. You can be a
Yeah,
better explanatory for that.
because I have a MSc degree from Kushetra University, then I get admission in Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. So otherwise, from BA or MA degree, they generally do not consider for admission in a science institute. So it's better to take a degree if you really want to work on a physical geography aspect. Uh, in any university like Jamia Millia, I think they are also giving a MSc degree. Possibly, I have no idea. They are very
No, they
less
don't.
universities. Okay, man.
Yes, I
ठीक
think
है.
I can just add, Rakesh, here that now we have a department, as you know, a university, we have a department of environmental sciences.
Okay.
So I think those students who really want to pursue research, if not masters in geography, they can always offer. I think there are, we have a seat for geographers. I still have to see the confirmations, and I think we can have a lecture on the further, degrees and the options for the geographers. I think now students need that more of the avenues where geography can be undertaken as a research. Actually, students really want to research,
Yes,
but how far they can, because your research is, as you already have marked it out, we have masters in Delhi University, not MSc degree. So that I think resist students for doing such a massive
And
research as you have already undertaken. Yeah,
thank
Riyanshu,
you, man.
we'll talk later. Okay, let me just yeah.
okay, ma'am, sure.
Thank you, Rakesh, for such a
Thank you, man.
wonderful session, and I think most of the queries of students have really been solved by your generosity with which way you have, accomplished to their requirements as far how far they can go, whether the subject geography is concerned or being interdisciplinary, because we have our audience is multidisciplinary, students from different departments, different subjects, they are there. So how research can be taken, how hardwork and intensive input is required for thing. So I now take this opportunity again formally to give my vote of thanks to first of all to our patron, Dr. Praveen Garg sir, our principal sir, who has really, given us the incentives every time we are working hard to bring our alumni in the forefront, and looking forward for their journeys, how they have come through and achieve their what positions you are all holding today. And not the least, but I think our leadership, it is not to be mentioned, but yes, to be mentioned surely, our Dr. Archana ma'am, who is always in the forefront. And I should be thanking wholeheartedly from the bottom core, because She day and night, whenever I'm calling her, she's always there to guide me and bringing me into forefront for working harder. And really, Archana ma'am, you have been inspiration throughout, and bringing the alumni committee in the forefront and being motivation for us all. And I also thank all the faculties who have taken out their precious time for making this session very fruitful and with their interactive sessions, especially Srivastava sir, all my students who have taken out time and being part of the audience and bringing up their queries. I hope this session has been very much enlightened towards your all queries and must have been a learning through experience by which sir has also, Rakesh sir has also undertaken his journey. And of course, none other but our entire alumni committee members. They have also worked hard in bringing out this session, may it be the technically or otherwise. So my bottom core thanks to all the members of the alumni committee, and of course the other non-teaching staff who had been part of this session. So thank you all, and thank you Rakesh, which
Thank you
is
very much.
without whom we would not have been having this entire process. And wish you all good luck in your future endeavors and all my blessings, and also blessings from all the other faculties of the department, that you should be we would be further seeing more researches coming from you, as Srivastava sir have already put forth new areas for the research for you in the glacial scenario only. So we'll look forward for more
Thank you.
researches, and if we can, we never know, we would be working together in the future with more researches coming through. Thank you so much. Thank you all for
Thank you.
making the event successful. Thank you all. Thank you teachers. Thank
Thank you.
you all my colleagues. Thank you Archana ma'am. Thank you all students.
And thank you, Dr. Preeti Malik also.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you
You
ma'am.
did a good
Thanks
job.
to you.
Good
All
job.
regards. All regards ma'am. Thank you. Thank you ma'am. Thank you.
I think we could click a picture. So whoever wants to be a part of the picture is more than welcome to join us in the picture. Akanksha, Dr. Akanksha is going to take
Yes.
the picture. Yeah. Akanksha, you can say 1, 2, 3 and then click, please.
Okay.
All are welcome to join in the picture, group picture, to mark the memory of this day.
Ma'am, students too.
Yeah, students also. Everyone,
Yes, sure.
everyone present. Please open your video camera. I'll just take a group picture. Everyone who's here, please open your video camera.
We can't hear Akanksha.
Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Louder.
Can you hear me now?
Akansha is saying
Yeah,
that you
please
all
come.
can open your cameras so that we can have
Yeah.
Shall I click? Or is anyone else wanting to open their cameras?
Akanksha, interference aa rahi hai. हाँ. I think you can click now. Whoever is there, it's
1,
fine.
2, 3, smile everyone. Okay, again. 1, 2, 3, smile. It's done, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rakesh.
Thank
Thank you and all the
Thank
best.
you all. Thank you,
Thank you very
Archana.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you, Rakesh. Thank you very
अच्छा
much.
लगा, बहुत अच्छा लगा.
और
धन्यवाद.
मुझे थोड़ा ऐड करना है यहाँ
Thank
पर
you.
कि बहुत
Okay,
सीनियर
thanks a lot,
टीचर्स यहाँ
Rakesh.
पर आए
Thank
हुए
you.
थे. डॉक्टर
Same here,
रजनी
same
was
here.
there. We thank the senior teachers who joined
Right.
to grace the occasion.
Thank you.
Yeah. All the
Yes,
best.
ma'am. I
God
would
bless.
like
Dr.
to thank
Rakesh.
Rajni ma'am. Then we have, yeah, Kiran also was there. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you and bye. Have a good
Bye.
day.
Bye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye. Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh sir.
ज्योग्राफी ऑनर्स वाले रुके रहना यार.